I have several dozen questions about how color works on a computer specifically for video. This has been driving me absolutely mad. You guys have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes. Well, hopefully some of you do. So here's what's going to happen. I put all the questions that I have in a big giant Google Doc. I'd like you to go open that right now. It's linked in the description. And just scroll through there and take a look and see if you know any of these things. If you're going to answer a question, please watch the part of the video where I ask that question, because there's probably more to it than what's just written down. I'll put navigation with timestamps in the video description so that you can just click on those, but the full detailed questions are in the Google document. And I'm not going to give anybody write access to this document. Just leave a regular comment, and if I find a good answer, I will add it to the Google document, along with your name, of course. I'd really, really appreciate some help on this. Thank you in advance. Basically, I cannot think of any other way right now to figure all of this stuff out, because I have been spending so much time, so many late nights trying to learn this stuff, and I just keep hitting dead ends. It seems like all I ever hear is you just have to practice and get better and develop experience and get a good eye for it, which I have tried, but it has been years and I'm hardly any better at this. Or my questions are just never brought up in the first place. Now, in these intervening years, I have been able to figure out some good stuff, and I will be going into great detail about all of that. You're going to learn something useful, I can pretty much guarantee it, because there is just so much material to cover here. You might just want to use the chapter navigation in the description to jump around, watch just the stuff that's relevant to you, the stuff that you're going to be good at answering. I apologize for how scattered this video is going to be, but that's because my understanding of this stuff is really scattered and I hardly know where to start. So let's just start somewhere. And thank you for coming along on this ride with me. Let's get into it. So I took this color correction course from lynda.com, and this one was taught by Robbie Carmen. Perfectly nice guy, but when they asked me to rate the course at the very end, I went into great detail on all the things that I thought were missing from it. And basically, I'm just going to be asking you, dear viewer, to try to fill in some of these gaps. Anyway, it's a microcosm of my frustration with color correction tutorials in general, where basically they focus on all the technical details of how do these panels work? How do I, do this? What does this mean? What does this mean? It's all about the how, and there's hardly anything about the why. And that's what I need to learn. So when I get advice like this,
so make sure the contrast is right, the colors are balanced, and the saturation looks good.
Up the color, up the saturation, depending on what it needs or what it doesn't need. And we drop those highlights a little, make it a little brighter, a little more white, a little less black.
Is you want good contrast, good saturation, good exposure, and good white balance.
No offense to you guys, but that kind of advice just isn't very helpful. I had to pick on someone. Now, Casey Ferris actually does go on to explain a few things, like how the values should be close to the bottom, how you shouldn't clip your highlights. These things make sense, but just how much contrast or saturation should I be using within that space? I still have no idea. And no tutorial I've ever watched has really given any good guidance on stuff like this. Advice like, make it balanced. What does that mean? Is this balanced? People might say that this is overexposed. Obviously, this is not a good look. This is not a good look. But is this a good look? Should I bring it down a little further? Let's add contrast now and bring back some of the saturation. Is that better than without it? It could be. I don't know. And then Daniel tweeted this at me, and I think it looks better, but I asked him how he did this, and he definitely had to cut out Linus, which means that if you're doing this in Premiere rather than Photoshop, you have to use a tracked mask. Or in After Effects, maybe you can use RotoBrush. But even doing that, I still don't know exactly, like, how bright should something be? Are you bringing the window down too much? Because shouldn't it look a little bright? I mean, it is a really bright day outside. I don't know. Here, if you want to color correct this shot, here it is. I know it's compressed, but maybe if you could explain like what you would do for a shot like this and why you would do it. And yes, how you would do it. Like that would be helpful. Thank you. This is a shot from the Oneplus factory tour video. I edited this video, but I did not do the color correction. And you can see that the lights are quite dim, actually. They're at about 83 IRE. And I think that this looks better, right? You keep your lights very close to or at 100 IRE, because they're already blown out, so there's no saving them. If you do this, they just look kind of gray. And then everything else can also get brighter because, I don't know, why not? It's a bright factory, and I think that it just looks better this way. Maybe it's a smidge oversaturated when you do this, but I don't know that either. So tell me, does this look oversaturated or not? Anyway, the crux of the issue is this. If you do want your factory to be as dark as the one on the left, I still believe that your lights should be up at 100 IRE or very close to it. Do you disagree or not? What do you think? Here you go. This is the original shot, ungraded. I can't give you the raw footage. Sorry, this will have to do. But if you have experience in these matters, it would really help me out if you would screenshot this, do some color correcting, do some color grading, and then post a comment on this video with a link to your corrected image, and maybe you write a little bit about what you did. I'll be adding those to the Google Doc, different answers, so to speak, to these color correcting conundrums. That would be very helpful. Thank you. We can all benefit from your experience here. Okay, now back to the Robbie Carmen tutorial.
So what I'm going to do to kind of neutralize this blue color cast is I'm going to go down to my three-way color wheels. I'm going to grab the gain wheel. To neutralize any color cast, you add in color from the opposite side of the color wheel. So if I have a blue color...
Okay, that makes sense. But he said, I'm going to use the gain wheel, but he doesn't explain why, as opposed to gamma or offset or even lift. I do have the file that he used. Let's bring down the highlights. Did he do it for only the blue channel?
To neutralize that, I would add in yellow-red from the opposite side of the color wheel. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so here I've got my, this is the ripple tangent, color wheels. So this is this, okay? So I'm just gonna do what he said. I'm gonna add red into the, well, this is the midtones. Oh wow, that's definitely wrong. Okay. I don't have the same controls as he does. Like, obviously. And like, what? Why don't I have the same controls? Like, I know that these don't do the same thing as these, but can I get color wheels? Color wheels? No. Okay. The point is, like, even if I had Resolve, I wouldn't necessarily know to use the gain knob. And I also, like, would just do it this way. Look, temperature. Now, the thing is, though, let's see how much he corrects it.
And the second I start doing that, you'll notice that the top of the traces start evening out just like so. If I toggle that on and off, you can see that I've made a significant difference in the balance of this shot.
So, like, he definitely made it better, but I feel like he took out too much blue. Like, the sky is blue. So let me try it. I don't know. This looks pretty overexposed here. Bring that down a bit. I don't know. I mean, I think that looks pretty good, you know. Let's compare to his. Like, his church is yellower than mine. The weird thing is, like, this is a Premiere Pro tutorial, but it's like, it's actually DaVinci Resolve. These are like the only controls that he teaches you about, but this is clearly not the only thing that he uses. There's some fancy stuff that he does. So anyway, no matter what I do, like it never looks as good as what he's been able to do. Okay, let's just continue with this rant here. I tried my best to recreate the look at 333 of this video, but I could not do it.
And again, to me, modern cinematic kind of stuff often is teal and orange or kind of those cool blue tones. So ultimately, I went with something very cool.
There's his look. I grabbed this using a screenshot, brought it into Premiere, and I fiddled around with it quite a bit, trying to get that look. Here's the footage of me struggling with that. But no matter what I do, I just can't get the floor to look right. And the issue is, like Robbie, he doesn't tell you what he did. He doesn't show you. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Taran, of course you can't color correct using a PNG screenshot of a video because you don't have access to the raw file, which is going to have more data, so to speak, in between those values that are on screen, especially if that's a 10-bit file. Now, you might think that all of this is really obvious, but that's because it's a fundamental thing. And fundamentals are the most important things to teach, which is why it's shocking that none of the tutorials I've ever watched have talked about this. All right, let's try the teal and orange look. Here is some screen cap of me color correcting this internal shot of the LIGO building. It was very yellow in this building, so I don't think I got the color temperature quite correct, but whatever. I know how to fix color temperature, okay? But when I try to do the teal and orange look, this is sped up 230% by the way, I just cannot get it. I try all the different hues, all the different, I don't know. It just looks bad. Is this shot not conducive to the teal and orange look? Is it because there's not very much in the shot that is teal and orange on its own? Or is it because the shot had bad white balance to begin with? Is a shot less able to be color graded if it started out with bad white balance? Because if so, that's super important to know about, and literally no tutorial I've ever taken has mentioned it. Now, I suspect that it is true, but not if you're using a RAW format. This is not RAW, by the way. This is from the A7S II. Anyway, let me know, and here's the original footage, ungraded. See if you can do the teal and orange look. I don't know, is it even possible? Can you do it with a screenshot? Good luck. Questions 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I recently had a young filmmaker come to me and say, hey, look, I shot my feature on 6 GoPros. That's great, cool, GoPro, it's a good camera, I guess, for action stuff, whatever. And I want it to look like Skyfall, Roger Deakins' Skyfall. And it's a very compelling look. Well, with this particular client who shot on 6 GoPros and had these grandiose plans, I knew that we were going to be in for a lot of effort and probably a lot of time to realize that vision, assuming that he had the budget.
Okay, but why? What is it about a GoPro that makes the footage less able to be color corrected? This is not explained anywhere. Is it the gamut? Is it the compression? Is it the 8-bit color space? Can they shoot 10-bit? Should he have shot 10-bit? What kind of footage is best for color grading? What sorts of things should I do to ensure that color grading can be done well later? It's clear that Robbie knows what he's talking about, but there's so many questions that go unanswered, and these things are so fundamental that he probably doesn't even realize that he's leaving them out. Ah! Also, even if it is really difficult to get GoPro footage to look like Skyfall, surely once you figure out how to do that, couldn't you just make a LUT and then apply that to all of the color-corrected GoPro shots? And if not, why not?
The other thing about bias lights is that they usually also have a very high CRI value, color rendering index. That's the quality of light. All right, let's play another game.
And that's all that he explains about CRI. I have so many questions that go unanswered. What the heck is CRI? why do bias lights need to have a high CRI? I mean, you're not correcting those colors, you're correcting the colors on the screen. You read about this, and it makes sense. This fluorescent lamp is emitting specific frequencies of light, whereas this incandescent light bulb is emitting pretty much all the frequencies of light. And this is more pleasing to the eye. Okay, like that makes sense to me, but I've literally never heard anything about CRI in my life up until this moment. You'd think they would have covered this at BCIT, but no. This seems really important, and I don't know where to go to find more information. Like, what's a good source? Also, it seems to me that if the camera only records R, G, and B, then what does it even matter that we only have R, G, and B? It makes sense to me that this would look better, but, you know, I don't know. I'm just throwing out questions here. Does this mean that the higher the CRI value, the better? Like for lights on set? I would assume that it does mean that. But I can also imagine a situation where you might want the very specific look of having a very low CRI light source to light up the scene all in one color. But it also makes sense that maybe you should still shoot with a higher CRI and then make it more monochromatic during color correction. So, again, it seems, from what I've read, it seems to me like the higher the CRI, the better. But I don't know, so somebody tell me. This is the problem with experts. Okay, let me show you another example. This is great. What is this, some crappy re-upload? Where's Moonhook's Knot? Where's the original? He re-uploaded it. Okay, so not even Wayback Machine was able to archive the comments. But basically, Collins had a comment on here saying, what's with all these people telling me that there was high-speed video in 1969, but then they send me links of high-speed film cameras? Do they think that film is the same as video? Yes, they do, because most people use those terms interchangeably. Despite the fact that for the whole video he's talking about it, he never defines those terms, which is exactly the problem that I have with so many color correction tutorials, which meant that learning some of this stuff was incredibly difficult because everyone is contradicting everyone else because they're not using the same definitions. So I've created a master list of color correction, color in video related terms for you to check out. Please take a look through these. There's a lot of really fantastic information in here that I've assembled. And if I've gotten anything wrong, just leave a comment on the Google document. And I'll try to keep up with it and keep that document updated and as accurate as I can possibly get it. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to have to assume that you've read and understand all of these definitions. Now, even if you think you know what something is, you might want to take a look at this document anyway, because you would be shocked at how you've gotten certain things wrong. I know I was. Okay, and then this just killed me. Right here. I was so confused by this, but now I know the answer. This was not explained in Robbie's tutorial. This was not explained in any tutorial I have taken about color correction over the last 5 years. And it's so fundamental to how video works that you do need to know this. So I'm going to explain it to you right now. There is, in fact, information in the blue channel of this video that exists above 100 IRE. That is 100% brightness on your monitor. How is this possible, you might think, if you are me a few months ago? That doesn't make sense. Well, if you're working in 8-bit per channel color, you can't get any brighter than 255 in any of the 3 channels, red, green, and blue, right? Right. However, this image is not encoded in RGB. This image, which is a still from a video, of course, was encoded as YCBCR, which is to say luminance, and then a type of chrominance, and then another type of chrominance. To make things more confusing, YCBCR is often erroneously referred to as YUV. But those are two totally different things. Even Adobe gets it wrong. I think. I'm not actually sure anymore. Basically, the luminance component is like the most powerful of the three, and then the colors are all relative to that. So I don't know how many levels there are within the luminance, but I do know that it can actually hold much brighter brights than you might initially think. And especially looking at this footage that I took of our super bright lights, you can see just how far up it can go. I don't know if there's actually an upper limit. There must be, but I don't know, like maybe the brightest white is like a floating point thing. I don't know. What I suspect is if you were to bring this footage into Premiere and then don't touch it, don't color correct it, just re-export it straight away, you would lose all the information above 100 IRE. And I tried that and I was wrong. I tried .avi, I tried .mp4, I tried MOV, QuickTime, whatever, and it retained all the information every single time. And in fact, this blew my mind. If I upload this video clip to YouTube and then download it again, guess what? That is still going to have all the information that is above 100 IRE. What? It saves it even though on YouTube the maximum it can display is 100. There's still a ton of information above 100, potentially, that YouTube doesn't even bother to clip out. It's still there. So then what I thought was, okay, how about if I record my screen of this video and see if that has information above 100? Because if it does, I quit. Okay, moment of truth. Let's take a look at the purple parts. Super blown out. And now let's bring the same adjustment layer in. Okay, good. Whew, if that was somehow able to keep all the stuff above here, I would be shocked. Right, this makes sense to me because this is a screen recording here, and your screen is only able to display up to 255. So therefore, even though this screen recording here is an MP4 H.264, there is actually no data above there because what's being displayed doesn't show that data. I would think that YouTube would cut that off because it's not necessary. So basically what we've learned here is it's always better to download an MP4 file because that will probably always have more information than if you were to just do a simple screen recording. Totally flat image there versus a ton more headroom. That's fascinating. Look at all that extra info. Also, same story if you take a screenshot of whatever it is and you bring that back in, that will also not have information above 100 IRE. These have both been brought down. You can see that the screenshot does not have info, but the MP4 H.264 file still does. Okay, now I can accept that it's a different encoding mechanism and that there's information up there that you can rescue, which is amazing. That's great. You know, you can rescue it. But like, what I don't understand is this. What the hell's going on here? This is above 255. And this footage has not been color corrected at all. You see that? It looks like it's at 275 or something. But why would it put it there? Why wouldn't it just put it down to 255? I don't get it. Like, does it give itself a little bit of extra headroom? And also, does it know that that's purple? Let's make a mask and let's find out what it thinks. Okay, good. Thank God. It knows that it's pure white. Because I was about to say, like, if it somehow knows that this is purple, then I don't even know what to do. Because look at this. It appears as though it knows that that highlight is like more purple overall, but in fact, that's just the purple around it. My question about this one is, how does this work where this is the brightest part of the image, but there's all this crap above it? Like, why? Why is this not way up here? Do you see what I mean? And then here I go outside, and what I'm describing makes sense. Let's look at this. Just pay attention. Oh, you sucks. You do. That was Nick. There's the 100%. Okay, 100% band is right here, right? Let's check it. Well, okay, hang on. The blue channel's already fully clipped. Unless it's defining clipping, because I had the zebra set to 100%, it's defining clipping as 110 IRE. But then I have to wonder, like, why wouldn't you just do it at 100? And can this even be called clipping? Like, I would call this pre-clipping, because you can still bring it down. By the way, I believe this has to have a YUV thingy on it to be able to affect the YUV range. Channel mixer. If I bring the blue down. So the channel mixer is not a YUV effect. When I bring the blue down, it treats it in a perfectly linear way. You see, there's actually supposed to be stuff above here, and there's not. This is why fundamentals are important. Because I was confused, I wasn't paying any attention to YUV effects, because nobody ever told me what that was. I thought it was some ancient thing that they used for CRT televisions, which it is. Well, YIQ if you're talking about old NTSC, but who cares? I would have learned all this years ago if the term YUV hadn't been stupidly recycled to describe digital YCBCR encoding. That just drives me crazy. This is why I'm making this tutorial to help you out. Fast color corrector. Check it out. I mean, I've already shown you. We've got it right here. We still have all the colors. They're all right there. We still have them. Look at that sky. It looks much better. Update from future Taran, who figured a few things out. Oh my gosh, I think I'm answering my own questions. When you go to the waveform type on the Lumetri Scopes, you can just choose the Luma. And then you'll notice that nothing pretty much goes above 110 on Luma. Now, why 110 rather than 100? I don't know, but check that out. And then also you can actually view luminance and chrominance, the first one. Wait, YC? I don't know. Yeah, I guess this is literally just the luminance channel. Huh. So I guess the way that this camera works is it has an incredible amount of resistance after 100 and all the way up to 110, where it'll compact the light in a lot between these two levels. Check it out. See that? And then it just kind of, it has to limit it to 110. It truncates everything beyond 110. Yeah, you can see that very clearly. Wow, okay. Well, I just learned some new things. Oh, and that's probably why the colors get all twisted up when they approach the brightest bright, because the colors are also compacted when they get above a certain threshold. Huh. I'll have to see how different cameras react to this. Okay, and just one more question about this XA20 footage, which, by the way, I've made available online. You can download the original RAW file and take a look, if you really want to. My question is, why does it not always have the highest part of the signal visible? I can prove that there's still more data up here if I move... Come on... There we go. If I move the exposure down. But if I remove this... Look, it's fake clipped it. Like, if I tell you to unclamp the signal, unclamp the signal. Where's the rest of it, buddy? Let's bring this down, down, down. See, look at all the data that's up there. And yet, when I have clamp signal, when I have that off, clamp signal does nothing. That's really annoying. Like, I need this to be reliable. So what's up with that? And then I've got the same issue over here with Robbie's footage, which also seems to act differently when it's paused versus not paused. Whatever. Someone tell me what's going on with this. What is clamp signal supposed to be doing? Is it broken? Do I need to file a bug report? Let me know. Question 23.
Here we have some footage. This is shot with the Blackmagic Pocket camera. And so it comes out really flat, not much saturation here. As we look in the scopes, we have not a whole lot of contrast going on. And so it's a very flat image, which is great for grading, but doesn't look that great.
Okay. He says it's great for grading. But he doesn't really explain why. Because as far as I'm concerned, what you're doing here is you just lost all the bit depth, I believe it's called, I'm not sure, that you would have gotten from here and from here. So you're only using 1/3 of the, I guess, values. Am I using the word values correctly? Like, I think like value is like a difference between here and here. Like, it's slightly brighter. I don't know if brightness is the right word anymore. See, I'm going crazy. So this goes up to 1023, which makes me think maybe this is already 10-bit footage. So this is fine to shoot this way. But if it's 8-bit, maybe you shouldn't. Although I've also seen articles that say that it's actually fine and it doesn't result in banding. Contrary to popular belief, there should be a comma here, heavy grading of 8-bit footage does not necessarily lead to banding in footage across smooth surfaces, except in extreme cases. Here's the article. I'll give you a link to it. But like, I don't know if he's right. You know, I was also looking up stuff about HDR footage. Okay, mystery box. This, you guys, this has to be a lie. This has to be wrong, or I'm going to jump off a bridge. As far as I know, the blackest blacks that your monitor can display depend upon what kind of monitor it is. So, this is the monitor that I am currently using. It's IPS LED. I believe it does not have local area dimming. So the blackest blacks are still not as black as they are when you turn the monitor off. Okay? And that's because there's still a backlight behind everything that you're seeing. So even this has a light behind it. It's just being blocked by these little crystals. So they'll polarize each other at 90 degrees, thereby blocking out all light, except actually a little bit does get through. The best way, as far as I know, to avoid this is to use an OLED screen, where literally every single pixel is an RGB LED. Because then, if you turn off all of those channels, all the colors in that pixel, then you will have absolutely no light being emitted from that area of the screen, from that pixel. And so therefore, that is the blackest black that you can possibly achieve. Right? Am I right? Okay. So I think that this is what's actually going on, right? It can't capture the blackest blacks, but it'll still display them as black as it can on whatever monitor you're using. Does HDR give you blacker blacks? That claim seems very misleading to me. Blah, 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 blah. Gamma curves, we're not even going to get into. Frankly, I don't understand them nearly well enough. So let's, oh boy. Like, it's another thing. Like, how important is this? I don't know. I have to go digging into it to figure out how important it is, to figure out how much I need to know, and then I'll tell you guys. But, like, I have to learn it all. Now, okay, I don't have to learn it all. I don't have to do anything. You know, I don't have to care about what I'm doing. I could just continue to edit videos, and they would be fine. But having a fundamental understanding of your work will give you insight, and I don't know, it'll make your work better. It will. It absolutely will. You'll be able to do things that no one else even thought of because they don't have those fundamental understandings. Okay, then you've got this. Grayscale conversion. Did you know? Oh my God. Like, this is another one that drives me crazy. No one ever told me. No one ever told me this, but apparently, oh, just kill me now. If you lower the saturation of an image, what you get is not a faithful representation of the actual values. No, this is actually the worst possible way for you to create a grayscale effect. Yeah, did you know that? You thought it was fine, didn't you? No, it's not fine. And there's all sorts of reasons why. We can get into it here, but Sinix Design explains it a lot better than I can.
The purest form of each hue will hit the value spectrum at different spots between black and white. This means that each hue has a different effective value range. This is, once again, the part of the information that becomes extremely important to know as an artist. Brightness is the component of RGB pixels, whereas value is just an unprocessed outcome. While every hue has its own unique real-world value range, on a computer, every hue shares the same brightness range. If you have no saturation to calculate into the output value, every hue will wind up having the same value. This is why turning off saturation is possibly the worst way to check your values. I really should have thought about this stuff years ago. To be fair, Photoshop does do a reasonable job. You can either use the color proofing mode with a grayscale setting, which is okay, or just a black layer above your image set to color as the blending option. Surprisingly, this works best.
He's wrong. He is wrong. I tried it. Okay. I'm sorry, man. Here we have the blue and yellow test. Okay. So here's the thing. I took a screenshot because that's what I do. Here we have lowering the hue saturation. Obviously, it looks like garbage. Messes that one up. And interestingly, you've got a little bit of white. Well, not white, but brightness between those two that you didn't see before. And this only looks that way because it was through a compressed video, which is why I redid it down here. Let's just try his method. I'll show you why it doesn't work. Well, it does work, but well, you'll see. Okay, it can be white, it can be black, it doesn't actually matter. Go to color, and here we go. It actually does look better than hue saturation. Good way, bad way. Good way, bad way. The problem is, like, look at this one. This one, I think that this is a lot brighter than that. Well, it seems to be. But the result that I get from this method shows them as almost exactly the same color. I noticed that from Linus's shirt. You can see here, like, clearly, like, it really seems like this orange should be a lot brighter than the blue, and it's just not. Let's try another method, the channel mixer. That's a little bit better. Little bit better. What did I do? It's just the channel mixer effect, and you just put it on monochrome. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. And you can do all this crap, whatever. Monochrome. And this is almost pretty much the best way to do it. And guess what? Premiere has the monochrome effect as well. It does. So don't you dare just lower the saturation, you lazy butthead. Channel mixer. Let's check it out. The channel mixer. Channel mixer. Put it on monochrome. Lowered saturation. Channel mixer. Lowered saturation. Channel mixer. Channel mixer looks better. Meh, meh. Update. Sorry, I got some things about the channel mixer wrong. Just bear with me here. So, channel mixer, first of all, when you hit the monochrome button, it'll only use the top 4 parameters. I did know that already. I've never been able to, like, do anything useful with the channel mixer. It just, whatever you do, everything just looks totally screwed up and weird. Whatever, reset. I just use it for monochrome. And what I didn't realize is that what this is doing is it's just using the red channel for the grayscale map, right? So if I were to put 100 in here and 0 there, now it's only using the green channel for its grayscale effect. And so on for the blue channel. This is just the blue as a grayscale map. And maybe you don't want to just use the red channel for your grayscale map. Well, there's good news for you. Premiere has a white ampersand black effect. If you type in white and black, you won't get it. Don't even try. White ampersand black. Let's put that on there. Remove channel mixer, and ooh, notice how much better the color bars are. This is what color bars are supposed to look like. This is the brightest, and it goes down to the darkest. Well, this is the darkest actually, but bright to dark. However, on the channel mixer, I actually was able to dial it in a little bit more accurately, I think, than what the black and white effect is able to do. So after fiddling with this quite a bit, and boy was this a pain in the butt to figure out, I discovered the values 28, 58, 14, and then 0 on there. Let's make that monochrome. And this actually might be slightly more accurate than the black and white effect, which, as you can see, is a little bit more awkward. See the difference? So here we have black and white effect. Here we have Taran's custom channel mixer. Black and white, Taran's channel mixer. Let's look at this on live action footage. Black and white. Taran's channel mixer, black and white. It's barely any different, although I think that the black and white effect actually looks a little bit better because there's more of a contrast between those two colors there. You can more easily tell that one is darker than the other, as it should be. So I don't know, just try them both. Okay, so there's the black and white effect, and this is the reducing saturation. Black and white, reduced saturation. I mean, you know what? Sometimes it's up to taste, you know? You just do whatever works best for the scene. Like, this is fascinating. I had no idea that there were so many ways to screw this up. But there are. And in fact, okay, I managed to make a really cool duotone. You can see the difference between those, whatever. And then ultimately, really the answer is to use Photoshop's black and white effect, which is the most powerful way for you to get black and white, I guess. You can change all these, you know. You can up the whatevers of whatever. You can just go crazy. Go nuts, man. Don't do that. Can we reset this? Oh, yeah, and it's got this really great, look, it's got this really great, what is this called? Click and drag an image to modify a slider thing where, oh, that's too bright. Okay, well, let's just bring it down. What's this? Yeah, there we go. Bring it down. We want lines to be a little bit brighter? Okay, and this a little bit darker? All right. Hey, see how great that is? So this effect, if you're using Photoshop, like that is the bomb diggity, dude. That is the bomb diggity. Let's make just this a little bit brighter. I love this. It's amazing. It's the greatest thing ever, okay? That's the effect to use. Oh, whatever. In Photoshop. But let me show you the hilarious thing. This shitty algorithm is the one that most digital cameras use for taking grayscale photos. They turn the green channel into the black and white image. Like, what? You're just ignoring the red and the blue channels? You just don't care? You're just like, no, we're gonna go with the greens. Most photographers recommend against using your camera's built-in grayscale option. Just shoot it in color and do the grayscale conversion later. Like, this is why fundamentals are so important. Imagine if you didn't know this. All your grayscale pictures are going to look like crap and you won't even know why. I mean, look at this Ansel Adams. Like, look at these. These are gorgeous images. You don't get that without understanding color and brightness or levels or Luma or whatever the hell it's called. Ansel Adams. Whoa, this is actually really helpful. Holy shit. All right, what else have we got on this document that I've got over here? I'm hiding it from you because it's embarrassing. Crushed Blacks has got people confused. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blown highlights. How to salvage, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this article's pretty good. He talks about, like, yes, it's clipped, but if you kind of if you kind of blend into the clip, you can kind of make it look the way that it would look if it was like film stock. Whatever. What else? Computer color is broken.
And while there are advanced settings in Photoshop and other professional graphics software that let you use the mathematically and physically correct blending, shouldn't beauty just be the default?
So right there he shows you what you're supposed to do in Photoshop. This is a bad idea. I did this. It was a disaster. I don't recommend that you do it. It's a bad idea. And he's wrong. Wrong. And I dove so deep. Like, I went in through the comments. I went through Reddit. God, this is so obnoxious to figure out. Okay, let's try his test. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Yes, that looks like garbage. It's using the wrong brightness because it's using linear rather than log, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cancel. If we, however, do what he says, guess what? Guess what's going to happen? Nothing. Color settings. Oh, I already had it on. Whatever. I'm going to turn it off, and I'll show you it's the exact same thing. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It's the exact same thing, on or off. It doesn't matter. That's not the setting to use. It's actually not. What it does do is if you have another layer, like that's how it blends layers together. Gaussian blur. Wow, that sure does look shitty, Taran. Yeah, I know, Steve. But look, we can fix it. Color settings. Boink. Hey! That looks better. But it doesn't work for this. Filter, Gaussian blur. See? Once again, I'm going to show you. Edit. Color settings. Blend using gamma. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it has to do with blending between layers. So, turn this off. Instead of that, guess what? Let's try that again. Okay. Take a screenshot. Apparently that's what I love to do. File. New. Clipboard. Lab color, not RGB. Color mode. Lab. I don't know how to make that the default. 8-bit is fine. Whatever. Create. Paste that. Filter. I really need a shortcut for this. Look at that. Oh. Ooh, within the same layer, it has the nice blurring. Okay, so there's your answer. You have no idea how deep into the threads I had to go to find that. And everybody was like, oh yeah, well, it's just obvious. You should have known that already. Oh, you should have known that. I should have known that. When was I supposed to learn this? I actually took a Photoshop class in college, and this was not covered. Like, all the experts just assume that everyone else already knows all this fundamental shit. No, we don't. Positively infuriating. Anyway, how can I get color scopes as good or better than Premiere's in Photoshop? So I think there might be a plugin for this. You guys can recommend a good one, and I'll put it in here. Plugin? But the only thing that I was able to figure out was you can, at the very least, you can go here, all channels, expanded, compact, yeah. And do that. Like, that's about as good as it's gonna get. I hardly saw any difference there. Oh, whoa, hang on. Seriously, I have to refresh it? Are you kidding me? Wow, that sucks. Let's go M. Oh, so it does update. Well, whatever. Next question is, can I get Bezier handles on my curves tool? That would be a lot easier to control. So check this out. Control M, go in here. I don't like the way that they've chosen to implement this. Bezier handles are a lot easier to work with. Yeah, these are just kind of really annoying to deal with. Ugh, yeah, see, look. I don't know. I wish I had Bezier handles. Blah. Do you agree with these fundamentals? I've got some questions for you. A blown highlight on just one channel, or color channel, can or should potentially be recovered. Okay, yeah, that sounds reasonable. A pure white blown highlight cannot be recovered and should be left at 100. Whatever else you do, maybe this is wrong, but I think that this is correct. These should stay at 100. Leave crushed blacks at 0. I don't know. I mean, I guess. The curves effect can do everything that adjustments to blacks, shadows, midtones, highlights, and whites can do, but better. So, I can fiddle about with these curves if I want to, or I can use these things down here, color wheels. You know, I've got my midtones, got my highlights, I got my shadows, and then don't go backwards on your curves, which is what I did here to make the Kronberger, and frankly, I think that that was a fantastic decision. But look at how ugly it is. It's actually kind of cool, kind of psychedelic if you have colors like this. You know, there's a million ways to do color correction wrong. And there are very few ways to do it right. Tell me, is there a reason to have your curve going the opposite direction, to have it go, let's call this down? In this particular example, I think it looks pretty bad, but I actually don't know what I'm talking about, so maybe it does look good and I'm just wrong. Looks just kind of crappy to me. And always have your waveforms visible while color correcting. Yeah, without my RGB waveforms, I almost don't even know what an image looks like. Now, I usually don't have the vector scope visible. Maybe I should. Is that important? I only ever use it to check skin tones. Let me know if you think I should use it more, and for what. Okay, question 34. Do you agree with these fundamentals for color grading? Now, I'm terrible at color grading, so I have no idea what I'm talking about here. A pure blown white highlight should probably still be left at 100. There's none here, but if you can imagine that that window was already blown out, I should probably just leave it there. Because, like, if I was to bring that down, 80, donk, as you can see, like, it would just get clipped off, and that's just kind of a gray ugly, right? Crushed blacks can be brought up. For example, old film has this noticeably dark red black color to it, right? Where they've deliberately brought up the blacks, and they've deliberately brought up the red blacks. Anyway. Fully saturated colors often look amateur. Yeah. So like this in-screen, for example. It's fully saturated. That color is almost all the way saturated. Well, I feel like whatever color I pick, it's always going to look terrible. See, right? So I don't think that fully saturated colors look good, but when I don't choose fully saturated colors, they also don't look good. Frankly, nothing looks good. This is the conundrum that I have. I don't know. That one looks okay. It looks okay. But fully saturated would be like here. Whoa! That's definitely not as good. And that's all I'm getting at with this one. So even when color grading, I still don't see any reason why you would ever let the curve go backwards. Right? Like if you're trying to create a dramatic look, would that really work? Ugh. Colorists of the world, have you ever deliberately curved backwards? It's okay to deliberately blow the highlights and crush the blacks. But you really need to know when and where this would be appropriate. I have no idea. And like I can go through here and I can try to find something that looks cool. But I'm telling you, no matter what I find. Yeah, see, this one deliberately crushes the blacks. This one deliberately lifts the blacks. That one really blows the highlights. And always have your waveforms visible when color grading. That, to me, seems pretty clear. Anyway, let's go to the next thing. Do you agree with these guidelines for color correcting? Okay, so pretty much all of these just have to do with where do you put the luminance of objects in here. Okay, to color correct this, I would increase the gain until these cabinets hit about 80, which is, well, they're a little bit below that, but I think they're fine. I don't know, I could go one more, but 1000 is as high as I will go. White balance, got to fix that. I could go to auto balance, try this. These cabinets are not actually white. Whatever. What do we think? Okay, it's a little better. I'll do 1.1 saturation, 0.1 contrast at least. I think this calls for 0.2 contrast. Maybe 1.2 saturation. What are you doing? Let's bring in a black video. This is not the best way to do this, but I'll just do this and invert it. Plop that onto a face. There's the face, and as we can see, it's lined up on the skin tone line pretty well, I think. Yeah, that's fine. James is the same. So this red mass is what I use for skin tones, and I prefer to put it, I think, around 70. Let's see where James is. Yeah, he's also hitting 75. So maybe, I don't know, maybe this is too bright. Bring it down a little bit. But now my cabinets are also down at about 70. Oh yeah, they're about the same luminosity. Anyway, you can see Linus's hoodie here is definitely between 20 and 0. It's right here on 10. That's pretty good. And what I've noticed is, like, you definitely don't want to do this. Just crush the blacks like that. Oh yeah, yeah. There's still detail on the hoodie. Like, it could be worse. Let's make it worse. But I think that looks pretty bad. Yeah, pretty extreme look here. I don't think it looks good. This is more getting into color grading, and no, that pure black, like there's no texture left in there. It's no bueno. There's nothing left on here. James's hair is having a hard time as well. I feel like black items that have light on them should not ever be touching 0, right? That is my intuition. Tell me what you think. And then we've got Ansel Adams's zone system, which is pretty freaking cool. Right here you can see this is what you would use for an outdoor scene, at least. This is better than nothing. I find it quite interesting that snow is actually here at 9. That's brighter than I would think you would have it. And Ansel Adams says, reserve the very brightest stuff for, like, lights, basically, which makes perfect sense to me. Which is also why I have been color correcting websites now. I will bring a perfectly pure white website down to 85 IRE rather than 100. And I think that's actually really important. 85 might even be too bright still, but that is approximately the brightness of a screen when you see it, when it appears in the live action footage, right? Those screens aren't at 100. To me, it's like this. For the same reason why you don't have sections of your video much louder than other sections, because it'll annoy people and they'll turn down their volume, and then they'll have to turn it back up when you get really quiet. I feel like having parts of your video that are super bright is also inappropriate, and you need to bring that down for the audience rather than having them have to change their brightness. Now, brightness isn't as easy to change as volume, so people do it a lot less, although it is easier to get to if you're watching on your phone. But anyway, I feel very strongly about this, and I've done the research, and I think it is the right thing to do. What do you think? Also, sometimes I'll use my fancy pants pixel overlay effect, but that's just for aesthetics, sometimes. All right, you Chrome burgers. I hope you enjoyed my rant/questions/answers video. Hope you learned something, and I hope you can teach me something. Tell me if there's any other fundamentals that I am missing, because those are important. And I'll see you next time.